So, hello all. How are you guys doing? So, January 2026 has officially come to an end. How time flies, or so they say. So, we entered into 2026 all enthusiastic, setting reading goals and all that. And I am here to tell you how my January went reading and writing and book wise. So, if you're interested to hear all about what I was able to read and not read, do and not do concerning books in the month of January, stay tuned. Before we carry on, I would like to welcome you all back to the channel. Welcome the new subscribers and those that are finding us out for the first time. You are all welcome. And please, I would love for you to support this channel by subscribing, commenting, and liking this video so that more people will see it. Because I have to say this mostly on YouTube, bookish creators I see are people from other countries, from my country, Nigeria. I've never actually seen any bookish creator. So please do support us and help us grow. So if you have been watching anything on this channel, you will remember that in at the beginning of January 2026, I actually went all out to pick out my January TBR, which I wanted to be very, very short. So I actually used a TBR jar. I wrote down the names of my books. Then I intentionally picked books from different types of writings and then different, just a mixture. So in the book, in the month of January, I was able to read a self improvement book. I was also able to read non-fiction and, of course, fiction, which I was also able to read. And as I said before, my January TBR was quite short, so I didn't want to really hit the ground running. I'm just taking my time, building up my momentum. So here I'm going to show you guys all I was able to read and talk to you guys about it. So, first off, in the month of January, I was able to read one classic, and I was really, really proud of myself. So, the classic that I was able to read in the month of January was none other than Wuthering Heights. Yeah, it is, guys. Wuthering Heights. So even while growing up, I used to hear a lot about Wuthering Heights, and I really, really liked the name. And I used to wonder what wuthering meant. So when I went to the thrift store, I was able to lay my hands on it, the World Words Classics edition, and I picked it. So, guys, I just finished reading my first classic for the year, and I'm immensely proud of myself. And I'm here to tell you guys all about it. So, since I started consuming content or bookish content online, I've heard so many things about Wuthering Heights. Even before I started consuming content, I used to hear about it, and I just somehow fell in love with the name of the book, Wuthering Heights. And I think I'll remember to check out what wuthering means. But I just loved that name and I could not wait to get my hands on that book. So the other day I was at a thrift store, second-hand thrift bookstore, and I saw the Woodworth's edition. And I was like, I grabbed it with both hands. And then it was when I was picking my TBR for January, it was one of the books that I picked. So it is my first classic for the year 2026. When I picked the book, I was surprised. Wuthering Heights, it was actually a very small book, just about 245 pages, introduction and the appendix and all. It was just about 245 pages, and I was quite surprised. So after my initial surprise at the small size of this very popular book, I gathered my wits together and dived in, reminding myself that big things do come in small packages. Right? 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 And as I said before, since the first time I heard about this book, I was very, very intrigued and I liked the name, but I digress. So let's get back to the point. So, Wuthering Heights is a novel that was written by Emily Bronte. She thinks her other sisters are also authors. So it is set in England in the 1800s. It is told, in part at least, from the POV of a house servant, Ellen Dean. So she's the one that is narrating the story, at least the first and major part of it. She's the one that is narrating it to Mr. Lockwood, who is somebody that has come as a tenant on the estate where she works. It is a multi-generational tale that follows two families, the Earnshaws and the Lintons, as they navigate life and live with the consequences of, will I say, an act of kindness by the head of one of the families. This act of kindness ends up affecting almost everybody, in fact, everybody that is a part of these two families in ways that I cannot even begin to explain. The main protagonist in Wuthering Heights is Mr. Heathcliff, who is who was a homeless child that Mr. Earnshaw found on one of his trips and brought back home to be raised together with his children. And I say main protagonist because as you read the book, sometimes you will feel a character is a protagonist or is one of the bad guys, and then suddenly the person changes and shows his good side. So Mr. Heathcliff is the main protagonist. He was bad through not protagonist, rather antagonist. So he was bad through and through. Nelly Dean, as I said earlier, is the narrator or the storyteller in this book. And she, in my opinion, she is also the main character by virtue of the fact that she outlived everybody. Everybody came, saw, and were conquered. But Nelly Dean is the only one that remained till the end. So, in my opinion, she's the main character of the book. Wuthering Heights is a book that has a lot of characters that were not, how will I say, they were not wastes. They were not just there for the sake of being characters. They had solid stories to tell, they were well developed, and all the stories ended up tying into the main plot. And I'll talk about that later. So after the Mr. Heathcliff was brought to the family as a child to grow with the children, as they were growing, he ended up developing a very, very strong and will I say diabolical bond with one of the children named Catherine. There were actually two children, a male and a female. So Catherine, the female child of the house, ended up developing this sort of bond of friendship, or how will I even say it, with this Mr. Heathcliff. And as they were growing together, the bond was growing. So I will not give any more spoilers. I'll stop there with my brief summary of this book. So in the book Wuthering Heights, you find themes of love, both familial and romantic. There are, there are themes of friendship, which is a very, 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 very strong thing that was explored in this book. You could actually see in the book the heights which friendship could go and what people were willing to do or not do for the sake of friendship or for the sake of their friends. There were also themes of revenge and themes of consequences, the consequences of our actions, whether good or bad. And there was also a theme of, how will I put it? Will I say the form of influence, how people are influenced, how people seek to influence others or to control them or to manipulate them or to take a hold of their mind and use it to their own ends. Such themes were also and reading it, you'll be amazed at how can a human being allow him or herself to be used to this extent or to be controlled to this extent. If you want to find out, this is a book you should pick up and read. So, what do I like about Wuthering Heights? First off, I like the language, or will I say the writing style. The way the book was written, it was quite witty. And I find these characteristics with English authors, or will I say British authors, or something like that. So I like the language style. It was entertaining. I liked reading it. It was like poetry. It was quite entertaining. And then the way Emily Bronte used words was quite entertaining. I remember reading the first two pages of the book and the way the 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 first two pages, I burst into laughter, just the wittiness of it, and then because before I ended up being plunged into melancholy. I also loved the way that I had to refer to mini dictionary at the back to know the true meaning of words. As you know, the book was written in Old English. So some of the words that were used there are not the words that we use today. But I really liked it and I felt as if I had achieved something by getting through this book and learning new words. Secondly, I like the fact that the story was very, very character driven. It was character driven, not plot driven at all. All the characters were well developed and explored, and as I said before, there were many of them. So I loved that this book was character driven, and it made the story more compact and watertight. I also another thing I liked about this book was the pace. It was very, very fast pace. You could literally feel yourself going from one generation to another. You could feel the passage of time as you read this book, and you didn't want to drop it for 1 minute or look away, or you will miss something totally. Like when it was suddenly dumped on us that Catherine gave birth to a child, they had been describing the fact that she was sick, a sickness that lasted months and months and months. And they never even hinted to the fact that the sickness had anything to do with maybe being pregnant, and all of a sudden, the day she died was the day she gave birth to her baby. And then I'm like, yeah, I have to go back. What did I miss? How? How did I miss? But all in all, it was woven into the fact that she was sick, and maybe only people that were thoughtful would have imagined, okay, when a woman is sick, it can indeed be that she was pregnant. And then I like the way that the subplots of the book were so neatly pursued and laid out, and ended up tying back into the main plot that indeed it seemed as if there were no subplots, but only one plot was pursued. It was neat, it was done in a very, very neat manner, and I loved that about the book. So, what did I not like about Wuthering Heights? I've been going on and on and on about what I like about the book that you may be wondering. Is there anything that you don't like about this book? There are a few things, and I'll tell you all about it. Well, for one, I hated the ending. At the end of this book, I was angry. I'm telling you that. And if you want to know why I was angry, pick up the book. The second thing I did not like about this book was that it was too much of an emotional roller coaster. And don't get me wrong, I am always up for an emotional roller coaster, tension, and all that when I am reading. But in this book, it was too much. It was too much. And okay, for example, you'll be reading about a certain character. And then on this page, you are like hating this character. Then after 2 pages, you are liking this character. Another page, you are pitying for this character. 2 pages down, you are like, yes, that is good for you. Look before you leap. And then 5 lines later, the character is dead. And you are like, sorry guys, I had to catch my breath. That was my experience throughout reading this book. Overall, Wuthering Heights was a 5-star read for me. I'm giving this book 5 stars. It was a classic, it was hyped, and it did not disappoint me. So, guess what? Beginning of the year, I already have a 5-star read in Wuthering Heights. Are you looking to read entertaining writing, good storytelling, a watertight plot, being drawn and quartered emotionally in about 245 pages? Then this is the book for you. So, guys, that's my what I think about the book Wuthering Heights. Have you read Wuthering Heights before? If you have, please tell me all about it in the comment. What did you think about it? Did you like it? How many stars did you give it? So that's it, guys, for my review of Wuthering Heights. So this book, and it is written, it's a BBC book actually, and it's written by Michael Palin. I think he works for the BBC or something like that. So you go into this book thinking it is all about geography. No, it is not. Not only so he writes it in that witty, funny language that British people are known for, and I really, really liked it. And then he has a way with words. The writer of this book, he has a way with words, and he has a way he strings words that makes them very entertaining. And then this book, which some people might expect that it to be boring, it was not boring even for a minute. In fact, out of all I read this month, I think this was the one that I could literally just put my head into and shut the whole world out. That was how it was for me, and I really enjoyed it. So this book is rich in history. It is rich in history because as he was going from country to country, he would tell us about the political situation or the social situation in said country. And then sometimes history was being made right before their very eyes. I remember when he described that he went to the USSR, the Soviet Union, and then they came out of the Soviet Union like 24 hours ago, and then after 24 hours, the Soviet Union was dissolved. And it was like history was made right there and then as they were there. So it is very, very rich in history. As he's not only describing the geography, he's also describing the history as it is happening, even the past history, and you learn a lot of history from reading this book. And it was really, really, I really enjoyed it. And then the pictures, guys, are stunning and breathtaking. See, even after many years, see the pictures. The pictures are really, really breathtaking. And I really, really enjoyed them. Another thing I like about Pole to Pole is the way he writes it as a series of, will I say, mini stories. As I said before, he goes from country to country. He talks about the geography, the politics, and also the stories of the people that he meets. He tries as much as possible to bring their stories. There was even a particular country, I can't remember the country right now, where a woman gave birth on a train. So all those stories of people will not only see the surface, just like seeing the countries from a plane. No, he goes right down to the grassroots. He tells people stories, a lot of comedy, a lot of. Sometimes I'll just bust out laughing as I'm reading it. It's a very, very entertaining book actually. And it is a type of book that I would like to reread and read again, again, and again. And it says, the magnificent landscapes of Africa build to a tremendous climax. Towering haze blue mountain ranges, the Matrusberg, the Schwarzbergen, and the Hex, part like stage curtains to reveal the final epic image of Table Mountain and the wide Atlantic. It is a breathtaking display of natural beauty and one which raises all our tired spirits. So it's just like a movie. You're basically watching a documentary and you can see everything as the camera is panning. That is the way he describes things in a very, very simple and engaging way. And that is one thing I really, really love about this book. Guys, about Pole to Pole. It is a series and I hope to finish it this year. So come February, it is one of the non-fiction that I am going to pick up and read. Very, very entertaining. I really liked it. It's a 5 star for me. So the next book, non-fiction, that I was able to read is a self-improvement book, and it's Rules of Wealth by Richard Templar. I think he's a British writer. So Rules of Wealth is a book that sets about to, number one, change your mindset about money or about wealth, and then teach you how to get wealthy, how to maintain that wealth, how to get even wealthier, how to invest your money, and also how to share your money. So it talks about all things money and investment. So reading through the book, it is written in simple language And most of the things that were written there are not things that I have never heard before, but just like as with self-improvement books, most of the time it's not that they are telling you something that is brand new. It is just reminding you of something you may have forgotten or something that you know, but you are not taking seriously. For me, that is actually why I love to read self-improvement books. So that is why I picked it up. I might not have agreed with everything he talked about in the book, but I was reminded of quite a few things and I learned quite a few things. There was even some aspects of the book where he went into the nitty gritty of calculations and definitions, things that maybe only accountants will know and all that. And that is some knowledge. So, if you are looking to gain financial knowledge, investment knowledge, knowledge generally on how to get wealthy in a simple, plain, unambiguous language as a layperson, I think Rules of Wealth is a book you should pick up. So, that is one of the books that I was able to read in the month of January. So, the last book, but not the least, is not the least by any means, is a fiction novel that actually is a children's book, but I love me my children's books. So it is, I think the name is Good Big Change for Stuart. So it's a children's book, it's a fantasy book. It has a lot of magic elements to it. It has a lot of magical elements, as in people performing magic, not in the sense of going into other worlds, no, people performing magic. So it follows this young boy, Stuart, who he goes on a quest to find his grandfather's hidden magic tricks. So inside the magic tricks, if he's able to work them out and follow the lead, he will be able to find his grandfather's will. So we follow him through the ups and downs of finding and working out these magic tricks. So the book actually packed a lot of tension. There were some times I was at the edge of my seat wanting to know how he's going to come out of this tight corner and all that together with his friends. It was a fun read, in fact. Even though it's a children's book, I really enjoyed it. And I think it will make for those that love reading bedtime stories to their children, it will make a good bedtime story read. So that was the last book I read for the month of January rather. So that's it, guys. Those are what I was able to read. And again, if you watch the video before this one, I talked about the anti-brain rot reading challenge, which I could not start in the month of January, and I talked about it in the video. But come February, I am going to start the challenge. So that definitely means that in February I'll be reading more. If you listen to that video, you know why I'll be reading more. So I am not going to do a TBR jar pick in going into February, because I'm going to be intentional so that I'll be able to participate in the anti-brain rot reading challenge for the month in the month of February. So that's my January wrap up. I hope I was not blabbing on and on. I hope you people enjoyed the video, and if you did, please give us a like and subscribe. So I will see you guys next time to talk about how my February went. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Life Boss Books. So that is it, guys, for this video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.